it's the art of bombing.
I got a roommate, because I'm almost 50 and my life's going exactly how I planned it. Whatever, you don't remember being 14 and thinking, oh man, I hope when I'm 50 I live with another dude, man, I hope. Oh, fingers crossed. No homo or nothing, I'm just saying, like, you can go halvesies on the bill. Nobody knows that.
One of the ones that was, I guess, the most eye-opening for me, because I sort of developed a style where if it's not going well, I acknowledge it. I'll mention, wow, I'm bombing. Like, I'll say, this is going terrible. I'll call out the elephant in the room. And I remember when I started, all these other comedians would tell me, don't do that, man. If the joke doesn't work, you just plow through. You go to the next joke. You try the next one. Don't acknowledge that it didn't work. And I'm like, well, why would I do that? Because they all know it didn't work. I threw it out like it was a joke. I almost waited for them to laugh, and they didn't. So they know I was why not call out the obvious? So I would always do it, and it was very self-deprecating, and it's cheating, but it was a way to get another. You would end up getting a laugh at talking about how crappy that previous joke was. So I ended up developing sort of that skill. But when I started doing comedy, I started at the club here in Appleton, Wisconsin, and I never did open mics, man. I got so lucky. I did one open mic in Milwaukee on a Thursday after doing a show at the club. A sold out 250 person show. I go down to the open mic, and of course it's 6 other comedians, and that's it. And I bombed and ate shit. And I was like, why would you ever do this? So I give comedians, most normal comedians that came up through the open mics, I give you guys all the credit in the world, because you knew how to bomb because you started out bombing. I didn't start out bombing. I started out doing okay because there was 300 people in the room every night. This is in the 90s when it was still, people gave a shit about comedy. So, I mean, I practiced in front of a full house every night. So I got cocky, man. I thought I was after 2 years, I was like, I'm fucking good at this, man.
I have to know. I'm curious. How did you manage to bypass the open mic system?
Well, the club opens up here in Appleton, Wisconsin. There's no other comedy clubs. The closest one is Milwaukee. And my buddy he starts out there as a doorman and then gets hired to manage the place. And when he got hired to manage, he gets a hold of me. He goes, hey, you should come down here and just be a doorman. Like, it's super easy. And remember, the club's packed every fucking show. So it's sold out. It's great. Like, it's the hopping thing to do. So I was like, hell yeah, man, I'll come down there. And, huge fan of comedy when I was a kid. That the big boom on TV in the 80s was my jam. I watched all of it. I'd stay up late and watch every single stand-up show I could find. And so I just started working at the club, and just a bunch of comics were telling me, they're like, why don't you do comedy? Like, you're funny and you fucking work at a club. Like, why aren't you doing it? And, secretly I always wanted to do it, but I was scared, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, my buddy just ends up, he lets me host a show one night. And then there was no open mics anywhere. I was literally the only comedian in Appleton, Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
My buddy Rob Brackenridge is from here as well, and he's back here now. But at the time, he was living in LA. He did 20 years in LA, acting and all that stuff. So I was the only comedian. There's nowhere for me to go up. So my buddy just let me do guest sets on shows. I would just do, hey, we got a special guest, and it would be my mumbling, horrible comedy. When I think back of it, I owe this guy so much. His name's Cliff, and I owe him so much for letting me do that, because I was so bad. But he would let me go up in front of these full audiences that paid money to see real comedy. I don't know what he was thinking, but
so I did that. Saw something in you, because that's a good way to develop too.
Yeah, I guess
you get a better sense of what's working and what isn't when you're in front of a real crowd.
I think you do, but it's I got so much sympathy. Like, people just felt bad for me because I was terrible. And I've heard the statistic one time that it's like 1 in 3 people are going to like you out of in any audience. So if there's 300 people there and you make 100 of them laugh, that's going to sound pretty good. It's going to sound like you're doing okay, even though only 1 in 3 liked you. And some other people might laugh because laughter truly is contagious, but you're not going to get a lot. So anyway, for 2 years, I did that. I did sets, and then like he'd give me like a feature week, where I'd do 25 minutes in the middle. And man, it was probably 2-3 years. I thought I was just the best. And I got this gig in Altus, Oklahoma. And this guy out of nowhere gets a hold of me named C.W. Kendall. I don't know if he's still booking gigs. I don't know if he's alive. If he's not, R.I.P. But and he was some like famous guitarist from back in the day from some band. I don't know. Anyway, he gives me this gig, and there's no way he was headlining me, and there's no way I should have been headlining. Like I had maybe, if I'm being honest, 30 minutes worth of material. But somebody at that stage is like, I'll give you $300 to come all the way to fucking Oklahoma, and I was like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. So I went. And I'm telling you, bro, I got there, and it's literally just a bar. It's just a regular bar. There's no stage. They go, we'll probably just have you stand in the corner over there. And I was like, fucking what? Like, there's no stage, there's no lights, And they had a PA system, but it was terrible. And like, it's getting closer and closer to showtime, and there's only like 9 people in there. And they're all like cowboys, dude, like cowboy hats. And not like when you normally see people in cowboy hats, it's just people wearing a cowboy costume. They're dressed. These dudes were legit cowboys. Like they had
Yeah, you were in Oklahoma. That checks out.
Yeah, they were like legit in the fields, like wrangling cattle and everything before they came to the show. They didn't know there was a show going on, and they did not give a shit that there was a show going on. These 9 dudes, I had to do a show. I was supposed to do like an hour. I got like 25 minutes worth of material. And I remember the opener just bombed, just ate shit, didn't get any laughs. And I'm like, and if I'm being 100% honest, the opener is a way better comic than me. I shouldn't even be headlining. So I'm watching someone who's way better than me in the middle spot do way better than I'm going to. Or at least he has a chance. He seems like a better comic than me. I wish I could remember who that comic was, but yeah, dude, then I went up there and I got nothing, man. And I got nothing. Like all this stuff that I think works, all the stuff that I thought worked. Like I didn't realize really until the ride there how much of my stuff was local and not even going to work in Oklahoma. Like so much of it was, it's not like necessarily all about Wisconsin, but a lot of it was like Midwest stuff that they're not going to relate to. So I'm panicking, and it was I don't think I did. I probably did. If I did 40 minutes, I'd be surprised because I was just flop sweating, and every joke I could think of. I was mad I didn't bring my notebook up because I could at least maybe open my notebook and found something different. But I was panicking, dude. I was flop sweating hard. It was the worst. But I made it through, and nobody said anything. The bartender was like, "Oh well, hopefully next time we'll have a crowd." Like she blamed it on the audience, even though I was terrible.
Well, that was nice of her.
That was very nice of her. She's like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know what's up with these 9 guys who wanted you dead." Like, yeah, they just didn't care at all. And but it taught me that lesson, man. It taught me that, wow, I'm not as good as I thought I am. Turns out I'm garbage because I should be able to survive. Now I know 27 years later that you can have just as fun of a show with 9 people. Well, not just as fun, but you can make a show with 9 people fun.
Yeah,
obviously.
Absolutely.
Like I worked with this other comic friend of mine once, and we did I took him to these gigs in northern Wisconsin and Michigan, and they're horrible bowling alley gigs, one of them. And there's like 7 people there, and they're spread out through the whole bowling alley. And my buddy ate all the dicks in the world. It was terrible. And we're driving back, and he goes, "Man, I don't like doing shows for like 7 people. I prefer doing like sold out, funny bones and improvs." And I was like, yeah, we all like that. Like, we're talking about the most obvious thing in the world to say. Yes, of course, we all like it when there's more people that give a shit.
It's the art of bombing.
You just fucking yell out air fryer, sir? Is that... How long have you waited to just yell out your love of air fryers? Look, best case scenario, I go to a comedy club where a guy's talking about air fryers. That's the best case scenario. But look, if I go to a comedy show and he brings up crock pots, I'm fucking shoehorning it in. I'm yelling it out. That's close enough in my book. That's close enough in my book to share my love of air fryers with the rest of the world. Why would I hold back on my love of air fryers? just because he's talking about crock pots. Yeah, it's not even the same thing, but you know what? You only live once. And I'm going to see a comedy show at the LA Comedy Club at the Stratosphere, and that's what you do. You just yell out your favorite cooking methods. Everybody knows that.